strong, they were very harsh, they were merciless, they didn't have any mercy. To a point, Al-Mutawakkil, at the time from Al-Hadi, he ordered these soldiers to bring red mud and to pile it up in the middle of the desert to make a very massive mountain. And he ordered, why he used to do that? He used to bring his enemies when they come to visit him, you know, when they have to negotiate, and to bring them to the top of that mountain and sit there. Why? To show them how great his army is. He brought Imam al-Hadi, sallallahu alayhi wa. He wanted to scare Imam al-Hadi, sallallahu alayhi wa. Imam al-Hadi went up to that mountain, and Al-Mutawakkil started to show him his soldiers. Then the Imam looked at him, he said, look up high. Then Al-Mutawakkil looked, he saw more than 100,000 of army of the angels for Imam. And under his service, he told him, Imam al-Hadi looked at Al-Mutawakkil, he told him, don't worry about your throne. We are not worried about dunya. What we are thinking about is al-akhirah. This is our capability. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised us. So they brought him in a place where people do not know who Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa sallam alayhi is. When it comes to this verse, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. Allah gave this virtue to Ahl al-Bayt. But there are misconceptions, and it's important for us to know. This verse is surrounded by speech that Allah directs to the wives of the Prophet. That's why the other sects, they claim that Aisha is included, and Salama is included, and the rest of the wives of the Prophet are included, because Allah directs the speech to the women. So what the verse says, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُمْ, and abide in your houses. وَقَرْنَ. So in the speech in Arabic, when we use the word noon, the letter noon, it's directing the speech to females, only females. وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُمْ, abide in your houses and do not display yourselves as the display of the former times of ignorance. الجاهلية الأولى. يعني ولا تبرجن تبرج الجاهلية. What's the display of the first Jahiliyyah? تبرجنا, we use it nowadays, you say تبرجت المرأة when she puts makeup. And tabarruj, it's derived from the word burj. Burj means a tower. See the tower of Canberra? Now I was 25 minutes or even more, 35 minutes away from Canberra, and I was able to see the tower. So the word tabarruj that we use to put makeup on, or like when a woman puts a makeup on, we say tabarrajat. The word tabarruj is derived from the word burj. It means a tower. So when you put makeup on, it means you are telling everyone to look at me. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling them, do not do that. Because now you're attracting the side of the people. وَلَا تُخْضَعْنَ بِالْقَوْلِ, and do not soften your voice. Of course, our topic is not about hijab. Well, these are important points to know why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to the wives of the Prophet. He's telling them, do not do that. And He's telling them, do not soften your voice, even if it's part of your nature, that your voice is so attractive to the opposite gender. Try to change your voice. So those who have disease in their hearts, because when the desire in the man and the lust goes over the limit, it becomes a disease. Subhanallah. The thing that the women say nowadays, they say, why don't men wear their internal hijab? Well, the men are men. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you that men, possibly they can reach a position where the desire becomes a disease, that no one can protect themselves. Who was able to protect himself from corona, for example? Or any pandemic that happened back in the day? You can't protect yourself. So the only person who can protect himself is the one who wears the mask. So Allah says, the men have this kind of disease, not all of them of course, and then the woman has to wear the mask, which is the hijab. وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَ تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ وَأَقِمْنَا الصَّلَاةَ, and perform your prayers. وَآتِينَا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَطَعْنَا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. We notice that the verses that surrounding uses nur in niswa, the speech is directed to women, except for إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنكُمُ الرِّجْسَ. It uses the masculine pronouns. It means it includes men. So they said, we agree with you They said, we agree with you. It includes Ali, it includes Al-Hassan, it includes Al-Hussein. But at the same time, it includes Aisha, it includes Hafsa, and it includes Salam. Okay? Sallallahu Muhammad wa alihi.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Then we come here to the actual verse, إِنَّمَا يُرِيد. When it comes to the Arabic translation of it. We saw that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the previous verse, He says, Ya Nisa an-Nabi, all the wives of the Prophet, you are not like any other women. لَسْتُنَّ كَأَحَدٍ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. When, if you were pious. Only if you were pious. Why? Why you are not like other women? Why? Because you are in the house of the Prophet, you hear the verses, you hear the narrations of the Prophet, then the responsibility upon you is greater. And you will be role models to women. So if you are pious, you are role models for pious women. If you are not pious, then you are going to cause the other woman would commit a sin and use you as an excuse. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you it's optional. It's your choice. This is what we call al-irada tashri'iyya, the legislative volition. Allah's volition, Allah's will, Allah's irada, it's legislative. It's up to you whether you abide, whether you fulfill your duty or not. While when we read إِنَّمَا يُرِيد, Allah wants. This irada, it's called the formative volition. Irada takwiniyya. So Allah wants, and this is decided, and no one can change that. That He decides. He didn't give Ahlul Bayt the option. He decided that He removes from them the impurity. So if we claim that Aisha is included, then there is contradiction here. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them the option, you either can be pious or not. And then here Allah says, I want to remove the impurity from you. Okay, let's come to the narration. Even Aisha herself, the woman that always looks for any virtue to mention about herself. She waited Rasulullah to say something about her. That's why she was so jealous from Sayyidah Khadija. So you always mention Khadija, you always mention Khadija. Even her, when she mentions Hadith al-Kisa, we go to a Sunni book, it's called Shawahid al-Tanzil. The author, his name is Al-Hakim al-Hasakani. From the page 59 up until page 61, Hadith al-Kisa is narrated by her. And then until a narration that mentions when Aisha was asked about the battle of the camel, Harb al-Jamal, when she went against Amir al-Mu'mineen. When she was asked about that, she answers in regret. She says, well, Allah has decreed this upon us. 17,000 people killed of the Muslims, and you say Allah has decreed this upon us? Huh? And when she was asked about Ali, she said, who do you ask me about? Do you ask me about the most beloved person to Rasulullah? Or do you ask me about the husband of the most beloved person to Rasulullah? I saw Ali and Fatima and Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein, put them under a cloth, and he said, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. And I came and asked, Ya Rasulullah, am I from you? Am I from Ahlul Bayt? He said, no. Even Salama. Salama is a good woman. Salama is one of the great women, wives of Rasulullah. She came to Rasulullah, she said, Rasulullah, am I from Ahlul Bayt? He said, you are in a good position, you are going to heaven. But no, you are not going to be there. Putting them under a big cloth, so no one can say that Ahlul Bayt is everyone who's included under the rooftop. Rasulullah made sure that there is a rooftop under that rooftop to make sure that only these five are included. To see that they tried to wipe that, something that is so obvious, very great evidence on the greatness of these individuals, to see that the enemies of Ahlul Bayt succeeded somehow. Nowadays, where's the knowledge? Like I heard last time at the gym, one person is telling the other, you know, he's 35 years old. He said, I recently knew that we have an Imam, his name is Muhammad al-Baqir. And this man is a great man. I never heard about him. And he started he's speaking in a spiritual way. Well, it's a hujjah upon you. لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ لَمْ يَعْرِفْنَا بِأَحْسَابِنَا وَأَنْسَابِنَا. He's not from us, those who do not know us about our families and our family tree. To know Ahlul Bayt salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim. Why? Because our success on the Day of Judgment is strongly related to them and it's linked to them. One of the things that they done at the time of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. I'm mentioning this because Imam al-Hadi came at the time of Bani al-Abbas, which was much harder than the time of Bani Umayyah. The last tyrant of Bani Umayyah was Abu Ja'far al-Mansur, Mansur al-Dawaniq, was at the time of Imam al-Sadiq. Muawiyah started to say bad virtues about Ahlul Bayt, while al-Mansur al-Dawaniq, what did he start to do? He started to steal the virtues of Ahlul Bayt and say about him. So what he did, he went up to the minbar, he said to the people, "Oh people, I saw Rasulullah in my dream. And he called me and he put a turban on my head of 32 loops. And he said, the Khilafah, the Caliphate is for you until the Day of Judgment." Okay? And naturally the people, they started to celebrate. They were happy with what he used to say. People knew Ahlul Bayt at the time. Don't we see the same thing right now? Nowadays? And then what he ordered to do, he ordered that his dream to be written with gold ink on small cloths and to be hanged on the necks of the babies. And this is what we face now. This is the system, what the world uses now in order to eliminate something that's called religion. In the West, where is the religion? In the next generation, where is the religion? They attract their minds, they satiate their minds with video games, with things that are not related to religion. There's a Chinese scientist, he said, nowadays it doesn't matter who holds the truth. It's the media and what it controls. Now, who are the famous on social media? Who are the most famous people on TikTok, for example? People who has no even beneficial topic. People who, for example, do different hairstyles, or like they do different dances. This is the most famous people on TikTok. This is the people that everyone follows now. So, at the time of Imam al-Hadi, to see how that mentality started to spread and became embedded in the minds of the people, one of the children of Muhammad ibn Hanafiyyah. Who's Muhammad ibn Hanafiyyah? The son of Imam Ali. He was in prison of Mutawakkil. He was a young man. Al-Bukhtari mentions. He was brought in front of Al-Mutawakkil in shackles. Al-Mutawakkil wanted to disrespect him and he ignored him for a while. And he kept talking to his guard, Al-Fath ibn Khaqan. Kept talking to him until the son of Muhammad ibn Hanafiyyah became tired. Then he looked at Al-Mutawakkil, he said to him, "If you brought me here to discipline me, then you are the one who needs to be disciplined. You are the one who has lack of morals. And if you brought me here to let the savages and the low lives around you to know that I am to disrespect my family, then you already did that. Then get over it and tell me what you want from me." Then the Mutawakkil looked at him. He said to him, "If it wasn't for my patience and our relationship, I would have pulled your tongue and decapitated you." Then he said, "Where is your patience?" The son of Muhammad al-Hanafiyyah said to Al-Mutawakkil, "Where is your patience and you drink wine 24/7? Where is your patience and you have boys around you who play music? And where is your patience when you stole the land of Fadak from my mother Fatima Zahra and you gave it to Abi Harmala, who owns it now?" And he's speaking about what kind of patience? We have three types of patience. One of the types of patience is patience with obedience. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obeying Allah requires a lot of patience. So where is your patience? Then Al-Mutawakkil looked at Al-Fath ibn Khaqan. This is their mentality, how they look at Ahlul Bayt. He said, "Look at what the offspring of Abu Talib doing to us. The Hassaniyin, the sons of Imam al-Hassan, are trying to fight us over the throne that Allah gave to us. And Al-Husayniyin, they are trying to steal our virtues, which means the children of Imam Hussein, trying to steal the virtues of Al-Abbasi. And he said, Hanafiyin, the sons of Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, they try to trigger us with their tongues in order to drive us into killing them and spill their blood. This is their mentality. This is the kind of pressure that Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa was under. Nowadays we say, performing religion is so hard. You know, it's so hard to be practicing in the existence of this much dunya around you, this much nudity, this much deviation around you. It's very hard. In fact, no, it's very easy in comparison to the time of Imam al-Hadi. At the time of Imam al-Hadi and Imam al-Hasan al-Askari, when the Imam al-Hadi was passing by, no one was allowed even to nod to him in order to say salam. No one. You're not allowed. If you move a limb to raise your hand to the Imam, you're killed. That's it. This is the situation. Nowadays, success in the eternal life, in the day of judgment, is easy to achieve. It's easy for you to go and learn. It's easy for you to fight your nafs. You can control your own environment. You can control what you watch and what you have in your house. You can control where to go or where not to go. You can control that. You can control what to listen to and what to listen to. You can control, I can go to the majlis or I can go to a party. Some people, they mix and they join between the two. They go to the majlis and when there's a party, they go to a party. This is a deed that cancels a deed. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa salam alayhi, how did he perform under that kind of pressure? He made sure that everyone knows about the Imam and the value of the Imam. This is one. Even through the slightest of the events. I'm not going to mention this story because it's going to take long. I don't know if I have time.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
And this is the situation nowadays. Abu Basir, and now, of course, I'm going to mention this about Imam al-Baqir salawatullahi wa sallam. Since 2 days.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Yesterday, we were celebrating the birth of Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Hadi. Imam al-Baqir's birth was yesterday, and Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa sallam. So, there is a famous story. Abu Basir was blind, and they were in Hajj with Imam al-Baqir salawatullahi wa sallam. And Abu Basir, he just heard the noise of the supplication. And he just noticed and felt the people, how many people there are. He said, "Ma akthar al-hajij wa ma a'zam al-dajij." Look how many people are performing Hajj this year. A lot. And how great the noise of supplication is. Then the Imam looked at him. He says, "No. Ma aqall al-hajij." How little are those who are performing pilgrimage. Wa ma akthar al-dajij. And how a lot are the noise. And then Abu Basir said, "What do you mean, O Master?" Then the Imam wiped on his eyes and he was able to see. He looked. He said the majority of the people were in the shapes of monkeys and pigs, while the mu'min like a shining star in the middle of it. And then he says, yes, it is true. ما أقل الحجيج وما أعظم الضجيج. So, this is the situation now. Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa sallam alayhi sallallahu
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
One of the most important things that he concentrated on is on disciplining the inner self of the people. Teaching them to keep yourself in the correct direction towards Allah, towards us, Ahlul Bayt. Because heading and directing ourselves towards Ahlul Bayt, it means directing ourselves towards Allah. There is no difference. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose this for them. أين باب الله الذي منه يؤتى الدعاء ندبر recite. Where is the door of Allah that we arrive to Him through? أين باب الله الذي منه يؤتى. منه يؤتى. We put منه before يؤتى. Why? Because the doors are limited to that door. That's the only door that you can go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the only door. Through Ahlul Bayt sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Al-Imam al-Hadi concentrated on the nafs. Like what? Like what? Abu Musa used to work with Abu Tawakkil because at the time the Shia needed something to strengthen them. People were bought, people were threatened, people were deceived. Abu Musa used to work with Abu Tawakkil and he used to do a lot of work for them, and they used to pay him. But for a while they didn't pay him anything. So he went to Imam al-Hadi. He said to him, "Oh Master, it's been a while. I've been doing work for Al-Mutawakkil, and up till now he didn't pay me. Maybe he sensed that I'm close to you, that I'm related to you, and he doesn't want to pay me." He said, "Go, your issue will be solved." He said, "I went to the house, I opened the door, my wife said they broke the door from how much they knocked at it. They say Al-Mutawakkil is sending for you." And then the closest man to Al-Mutawakkil knocked at the door. He said, "Where are you? Al-Mutawakkil wants you." He went to Al-Mutawakkil, and once he entered, he said, "Where were you, Abu Musa? Where were you hiding? We owe you money. How much do we owe you?" He started to calculate. He said, "You owe me this much." Then he tripled them for him. He doubled the money for him, tripled the money for him, and gave it to him. And as he was leaving, he looked at Al-Fath ibn Khaqan. He said to him, "Did Imam al-Hadi visit you today?" He said, "No." He said, "Did he send a message to Al-Mutawakkil?" He said, "No." Then Fath ibn Khaqan told Abu Musa, he said, "Maybe you asked Imam al-Hadi to do dua for you, and Allah responds his dua." So he went back to Imam al-Hadi. Imam al-Hadi opens the door. He says, "I can see through your face that you're satisfied." He said, "It's with your blessing, O Master. But they didn't tell me that you visited or that you went to them." Then Al-Imam Salawatullahi wa alayhi said, and this is what I really wanted to mention. He said, that's how he was strengthening the faith of these people. He said to him that Allah is used to from us that in every hardship we only depend on Him. And in every problem we only seek refuge in Him. And He promised us, because we are like that whenever we ask, He will respond. And we are afraid that we change our habit and He will change His habit. Hardships, it's not only when I have sickness. It's not only when I'm going to do a hard work. It's not only when I'm going to a battle. One of the greatest hardships that we belittle and we don't actually see the value of it is fighting with the inner self. When the people came back from war, they said to Rasulullah, "Oh Rasulullah, we just finished and we won." Imagine these people, one of them lost a hand, one of them lost a son, one of them lost an eye, all of them are injured. Then Rasulullah said to them, "Now you finished from the small jihad. And what's left for you is the big jihad." They said to him, "What's bigger than this? We're losing our souls." Then he said to them, "To fight your inner souls." So let's say there's a lot of distractions around me. Too many things that distracts me from the religion, distracts me from prayers, from obeying Allah. Maybe I'm not able. Then I do tawakkul upon Allah. I ask Allah. I'm loyal. I get loyal to Allah. So when I do that, well, nowadays people say that it's easy for them when you speak about tawassul and seeking Ahlul Bayt as intercession between us and Allah. They are the means to Allah. Allah says, "Wabtaghu ilayhi al-wasila." When we say tawassul, they say you are doing kufr. Go to Allah straight away. And it's for them. The easiest thing, whenever they need money, they go to this person. "Oh, I know this person, he can lend me money." You go to that person, and this person on the Day of Judgment is not going to benefit you. And then you leave Ahlul Bayt salawatullahi wa salam alayhim aside. So this is how Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa salam alayhi trained his people. Or like the same event that happened with Amir al-Mu'mineen happened with Imam al-Hadi. Amir al-Mu'mineen, when the man came to him, he said, "I need money. I'm in a very hard situation." He said, "Are you claiming to be poor and you have? What if the people paid you the wealth of the dunya? You won't sell." He said, "What's that?" He said, "Wilayatul." Oh, Imam al-Hadi said, Abu Hashim al-Ja'fari saying, Abu Hashim al-Ja'fari came to Imam al-Hadi. He needed money. He was in a very hard situation. He went to Imam al-Hadi. Imam al-Hadi opened the door. Before saying anything, Imam al-Hadi said to him, look what Imam al-Hadi said to him. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said to him, "What grace of the graces of Allah you want to be grateful for?" What grace? Abu Hashim said that I went silent. I didn't know what to say. As if the Imam knows what I'm going to say. He says, are you going to be grateful for the faith, for the Iman that he gave you? And through the Iman that he gave you, he will save you from the fire of hell. So Allah gives you the Iman and he saves you through it from the fire of hell. Or you want to be thankful for your well-being, afiyah, your strength, that he gave you the ability to worship him through it. You want to be thankful for the well-being? Allah gave you the well-being and you are worshipping Allah through that well-being. Or are you going to be grateful for the qana'ah, for the sustenance, for the satisfaction that is protecting you from overspending? Then Abu Hashim looked at him, he said, I didn't say anything, O Master. He said to him, I'm just telling you because I didn't want you to complain. I thought that you want to complain about who did this to you. Then he gave him 100 dinar. While another person of the Shia, he asked for the same, he gave him 30,000 dinars. Why? Because he knows that this Abu Hashim, whether he gives him 100 or if he doesn't give him anything, his wilayah is firm. He is standing fast upon the path of Ahlul Bayt sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Then this is supposed to make us think about ourselves. Whether Allah gives us or not. Whether we gain anything in this dunya or not. Then our iman is supposed to be firm. Whether my situation changes or not. Things that triggers my desire, am I going to change? Am I going to be lured and attracted to it and lose my faith and lose my religion? Why did Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa salam alayhi concentrated on the nafs and on the sins, on the ma'as? Because al-Imam salawatullahi wa salam alayhi says, Man ata'a al-khaliq, whoever obeys Allah the Creator, he won't care if the creation are angry with him. And whoever angers the Creator, then let him be certain that the creation will be angered with him. Speaking about the sins. And most of the narration and the hadith of Imam Mahdi you see that he's speaking about the sins and disciplining the self. Why? Why is the sin so much related to the faith of the people? And we will speak about that after Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali.
Allah says in the Quran, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَاسْتَغْفِرُوا. And know that there is no God except for Allah and seek forgiveness. What is the relationship between ilm, knowledge, and between forgiveness? What? The relationship is, look at this. Al-ilm is from who? From Allah. عَلَّمَ الْإِنسَانَ مَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ. In Surah Al-Alaq. عَلَّمَ الْإِنسَانَ مَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ. And the greatest of the knowledge that the prophets sacrificed themselves for the sake of it is the Tawheed. Is the word La ilaha illallah. Tawheed. One of the greatest of the knowledge. Nuh. His name is Nuh. Why is the name of Nuh Nuh? لأنه ناح في قومه. Nah, it means mourned and grieved. That's how much he tried to preach. He mourned and grieved and preached in his people for 950 years just for La ilaha illallah. And what is ilm? Since Tawheed is ilm. In the narrations of Ahlul Bayt, they say al-ilm is nur, is a light. That Allah puts in the heart of whoever He wants. And since knowledge is light, it's supposed to be dropped in a heart that is empty from darkness. Because no darkness can dominate. And one of the greatest things that causes darkness is what? Sins. A man was dying. He sent for Rasulullah. Please attend my deathbed. Rasulullah came to him. He said to him, say La ilaha illallah. He couldn't say anything. Say La ilaha illallah. He couldn't. Rasulullah, with his weight, with his prophethood, with his life, coming and telling this person to say La ilaha illallah. He couldn't. He said, do you have a mother? He said, yes, I do. Call for her. He sent for his mother. She came. He said to her, are you satisfied with your son? She said, no, it's been 9 years. We haven't spoken to each other. He said, be satisfied with him. She said, no. He said to her, if you're not satisfied with him, he will die on a different religion. She said, I'm satisfied with him. Then the man was able to say, La ilaha illallah, and then he died. Something that we belittle, paying our respect to our parents, small sin, we consider a small sin. It's not kada, and he wasn't able to speak. So Tawheed, which is the same as Ahlul Bayt salawatullahi wa salam alayhi. The copy-paste of Ahlul Bayt, إِنِّي تَارِكٌ فِيكُمُ الثَّقَلَيْنِ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَعِتْرَةِ أَهْلِ بَيْتِ مَا تَمَسَّكْتُمْ بِهِمَا. If one small sin threatens my Tawheed, it means my wilayah to Ahlul Bayt is threatened. And I mentioned this story before. My father told me about when he went to visit one of the sheikhs in Lebanon. He said to him a story that I went to when a person was dying on his deathbed. We saw him when he closed his eyes, he turned left, and then he turned right, and then he turned left, and he was sweating. And then when he woke up, we asked him, what happened to you? He said, when I closed my eyes, I saw shaitan in front of me. And I was so thirsty. Thirst. And thirst is mentioned in the narration. When Sayyidah Fatima Zahra asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she asked Rasulullah, what will happen for those who belittle their prayers? He said to her, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will punish them with 15 things. 6 of them in the dunya, 3 of them on the deathbed, 3 of them in the grave, 3 of them when they come out of the grave on the day of judgment. One of the 3 things on the deathbed, it says that they will die thirsty. If they were given the water of the rivers of the world, it won't quench their thirst. He said, I was so thirsty, and I looked, it was the shaitan, and he was holding a very cold jug of water. He said, I'll give you water, but abandon wilayat Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said, then I looked towards the left, and I saw him on the left. Take the water, but abandon the wilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said, I looked right, then he faced me again. And he said, I woke up, but without submitting to him. That's why we recite dua al-adila. What's dua al-adila? What's adila? Al-adila and al-maut is you are tested on the deathbed that you can lose your wilayah to Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is adila and al-maut. We recite dua al-adila to ask Allah for protection from that moment. It's an unknown moment to us. It's a test like nothing else. And then now we take this wilayah for granted. We prioritize knowing, Steve Jobs in order to be better in business, or to know this businessman, if I learn from him, I can become a very successful businessman. What about being a proper businessman in the day of judgment? Isn't it the best of the trade is tijara ma'Allah? Trading with Allah? Allah speaks about Amir al-Mu'minin, الَّذِينَ يَشْرُونَ أَنفُسَهُمْ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ. They sell themselves, it's a trade, just for the sake of what? To take the satisfaction of Allah. Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa sallam. Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa sallam, that's how he spent his life. 14 years at the time of al-Mutawakkil in Samarra, 14 years being in prison. Nowadays they found in Iraq the prison that Imam al-Hadi was in. And they describe it. It starts with a field of lions. They used to put lions there and crocodiles. The followers of Ahlul Bayt, they used to throw them to the crocodiles. And this is one of the things that we mentioned. SubhanAllah, they drag other stories. A lady claimed to be Zainab, the daughter of Ali ibn Abi Talib. You're all familiar with the story. That I'm still alive. She claimed to be Zainab bint Ali. They brought Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa sallam. He said to her that our flesh is not permissible for the sibah, for the wild animals. So if you are claiming what you to be, then let al-Mutawakkil put you with that. And then she was afraid. And then she said, no, I was lying. And then al-Mutawakkil wanted to test that with Imam al-Hadi. He put him for the lions that were hungry. And the lions started to come and put their heads on the lap of Imam al-Hadi. After that they go into a room that only one person can fit. It's very narrow. After a while, few meters you walk, and then the only way to walk is while doing ruku' in order to go inside. And then after a few meters, you have to be on your knees in order to go inside. And then the room is 1 meter by 1.5 meters. Imam al-Hadi sitting there in sujood, supplicating and worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mutawakkil every now and then sends for him. Once al-Mutawakkil, he was so angry when Imam al-Hadi was not in prison, because they started to accuse Imam al-Hadi with a lot of things. One of the accusations when he was in Medina, the governor in Medina sent to al-Mutawakkil, he said, if you have anything to benefit from in the Haramain, in Mecca and Medina, take al-Hadi, Imam al-Hadi from him, because there are a lot of followers for him here. Then he sent for Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa sallam. In this time, same thing happened. Al-Mutawakkil was so angry, al-Hadi is trying to make an uprising against him. He said, Al-Fath ibn Khan, bring me 4 of the Khazar, the Turks, those who were so harsh. Al-Mutawakkil doesn't even understand what they say. He said, bring them here and bring Imam al-Hadi. I want to kill him on this day and I want to burn his body. And this is how Imam al-Hadi repelled the oppression of the zalim, of the tyrants. Not only through knowledge, even through wilayah takwiniyya. He controls the world. When we say in Hadith al-Kisa, إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لمحبة هؤلاء. In the Sunni books, those who say that you are being so exaggerating, in the Sunni book, they say Adam, when Allah created him, He told him, look at the leg of the throne. He looked, he saw a name Muhammad. He said to him, who is this Muhammad? He said, this individual is the most beloved creation of mine. And if it wasn't for him, I would have not created you. If it wasn't for Imam al-Hadi, I would have not been here. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. This is the first fadl upon us. This is the first thing that they granted us. Allah granted our lives because of them. Al-Mutawakkil threatening, wants to kill Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa salam alayhi, sent for Imam al-Hadi. Imam al-Hadi enters, and the one who narrates is not even a Shia. He was a Nasibi, a hater of Ahlul Bayt. He said, I saw Imam al-Hadi saying few words. And as he entered, Al-Mutawakkil ran to him, fell upon his feet, kissing his feet and hands. And then I looked back, these 4 Turks in prostration, performing sujood. He ordered these 4 closest of the people to him. He said, look, who ordered you to come here? He said, you sent for me. He said, they're lying. Then they sent these 4 people to send him with honor to his house. And then he looked back, he saw the Turks prostrating. He asked the translator, asked them, why didn't they fulfill my order and kill him? They said that when we looked at him, we saw more than 100,000 swords around him. And we couldn't even move. We couldn't even move anymore. So, with wilayah takwiniyya, al-Imam repelled the oppression of the violent. But once Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders that your role just ended, then the Imam doesn't repel anything. He doesn't contradict what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Azza wa Jal wants. Al-Imam al-Hadi from a prison to a prison, sitting in that small room, and then he leaves. Mutawakkil dies, comes after him, 4 or 5 of the Abbasiyin. 7 years Al-Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa salam alayhi after that being tortured. Until Al-Mu'taz, la'natullahi. Al-Mu'taz sent the poison to Imam al-Hadi salawatullahi wa salam. And he was poisoned. Imam al-Hadi, just in few hours, lying down on his deathbed, sweating, moving a limb, lifting a leg, putting down a hand, being tortured. His liver is being severed by that poison. Imam al-Hasan al-Askari enters. And he stands up beside his father. Every time Imam al-Hadi faints, Imam al-Askari says, Wa abata, oh father, wa hadiyah. Then Imam al-Hadi wakes up. He sees Imam al-Hasan al-Askari crying. He says to him, why are you crying? He says, I'm crying for your situation, oh father. He said, don't cry, oh son. because your son is the one who's going to avenge me. Your son is going to avenge your grandfather Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. If you cry, only cry for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Only cry for the man that was slaughtered on the sands of Karbala next to the river thirsty. Imam al-Hasan al-Askari standing beside his father Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam. Al-Imam al-Hadi in the situation, he gave the imamah to his son al-Imam al-Hasan al-Askari, and his forehead started to sweat, his hands stopped moving, and his soul departed his body. Aywa imamah wa aliyah. Al-Imam al-Hadi was killed in his house. The Muslimin came and they took the coffin of Al-Imam al-Hadi after his son washed his body, after his son prepared his body. They took Imam al-Hadi on his under shoulders to his grave. I would say, oh Master, Ya Sayyidi, Ya Ali ibn Muhammad al-Hadi, you died on your deathbed. What about your grandfather Hussein, lying down on the hot sands of Karbala? Ya Sayyidi, Ya Ali al-Hadi, you died and your head is on your body. While Imam Hussein, they severed his head. His body was buried alone, and his head came back after 40 days. Allahu Akbar. Al-Imam al-Hadi, when he's telling Imam al-Hasan al-Askari, he said to him, Ya son, oh son, your son, Al-Imam al-Mahdi, is going to avenge of Imam al-Hussein. He's going to seek the revenge of Imam al-Hussein. He's going to seek the revenge of that person who lied down beside the river without hands and the arrow in the eye. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Then Imam al-Hadi cried so heavily. Imam al-Hasan al-Askari asked, what's wrong, oh father? He said, your son is going to seek revenge for that lady who stood up in front of Yazid. That lady who saw the head of her brother Hussein in the hands of Yazid, while Yazid is breaking his teeth. That is Zainab alayhi salam. Zainab, 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 Zainab. Naam, Al-Imam al-Hadi was held on the shoulders, was buried in his grave. Al-Imam al-Hussein instead, the hooves of the horses was smashing his ribs and his bones, while Zainab alayhi salam is watching. After Imam al-Hadi was poisoned and he died, the people gathered around Imam al-Hadi bidding farewell. Who gathered beside Imam al-Hussein? No one, except for the swords and the arrows that were on his body. Al-Imam al-Hadi died and his clothes were on, while Imam al-Hussein took his shirt. They even stole the shirt of Imam Hussein. They stole his ring and they cut his finger. بس حسين ما حد غسله وشاله. 3 أيام ظل مطروح بالوادي. Only Hussein, no one washed him, no one moved him. He stayed 3 days on the sands of Karbala. ما إن بقيت من الهوان على الثرى. والقام 3 في ربان ووهادي. يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين.
मसला यह है कि ये विलायत जिस दिलों में होती है वो मोमिन है, वो मोमिन है, ये अमीरुल मोमिनीन है, यानी सारे मोमिनीन के क्या हैं? अमीर हैं, सरदार हैं। अब ये जो विलायत है ये कनेक्टेड है एक दूसरे से। अब मोमिन कहीं भी किसी को मिलता है, ना नाम जानता है ना उसके बारे में जानता है, लेकिन उसे पता चल जाए ये मोमिन है, रवैया बदल जाता है आदमी का। पूरी दुनिया में कहीं पे भी हो रवैया, क्यों? सिर्फ ये जो अंदर मुश्तरक चीज़ पाई जाती है उसकी तासीर है। और ये तो हमें वो है जो समझ में आ रहा है थोड़ा थोड़ा, लेकिन अगर आप थोड़ा सा